The glass facade of Sterling Elite Motors gleamed like a jewel under the early morning sun. Rows of luxury cars, Bentleys, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, stood inside under precise white lights, reflections rippling across spotless marble floors. It was a world built on polish, money, and pride. When Emily Parker stepped through the door, heads turned. She wasn't dressed for this world. Her jeans were faded, her white t-shirt plain, her sneakers a little scuffed. She looked more like someone running weekend errands than someone shopping for a car worth the price of a house. Yet her brown hair was neatly tied back, her steps measured and calm. There was confidence in the way she carried herself, quiet, unassuming, but unshakable. A salesman near the reception counter spotted her first. His name tag read Blake Turner, sales manager. His navy suit was perfectly pressed, his smile polished but hollow. He scanned her once, from worn shoes to simple top, and decided he already knew everything worth knowing. "Can I help you?" he asked, voice smooth as glass but lined with condescension. "Yes," Emily replied with an easy smile. "I'm interested in that coupe." She gestured to a midnight blue Avant Azure, its sleek lines glimmering under the light. Blake blinked. "That particular model starts at $285,000, he said, as if delivering a warning. "Perhaps you meant to visit our used car branch. It's a few blocks east." Emily's smile didn't fade. "No," she said quietly. "That's the one." Around them, a few staff exchanged amused looks. A woman in jeans, asking about a limited edition Azure. It would make for good gossip later. Blake folded his arms, the salesman's charm slipping into disdain. "The Azure is by appointment only," he lied smoothly. "We reserve showings for qualified buyers." Before Emily could reply, the door chimed again. A couple entered, designer suits, diamond jewelry, the scent of money clinging to their every movement. Blake's demeanor transformed instantly. "Mr. and Mrs. Harrington," he greeted, all smiles and enthusiasm. "What a pleasure to see you again. Please, right this way. I was just about to show you the Azure." He brushed past Emily as if she were invisible. A younger salesman, maybe mid-20s, approached awkwardly. His name was Noah, and his suit was a little too big on him. I can help you if you'd like," he said softly. "The Azure's interior is hand-stitched leather, twin-turbo V8 engine." Emily smiled at his genuine effort. "Thank you, Noah," she said warmly. "That's very kind." Across the floor, Blake was opening the coupe's door for Mrs. Harrington, describing it as if he were unveiling a work of art. Emily watched quietly, noting how easily his charm flowed when he saw profit in someone's reflection. She stepped closer, her voice calm but firm. "Excuse me," she said. "I was actually here first. I'd like to know more about purchasing this model." Blake turned, irritation flashing in his eyes. "As I mentioned," he said through a forced smile, "this vehicle is being shown to other clients right now. You can make an appointment later, or visit our pre-owned division. They have something more accessible." The Harringtons shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension. Emily's posture didn't waver. "I'm specifically interested in this car," she said evenly. "It's a gift for my sister's birthday next month." That earned a small, disbelieving laugh from Blake. "A gift," he repeated. "Ma'am, that car costs more than most houses. Let's be realistic." "I am being realistic," she replied, voice steady. "I'd like to make a cash purchase today." The laugh escaped him fully this time, sharp, mocking, echoing across the showroom. "A cash purchase?" he repeated loudly enough for nearby customers to hear. "This isn't a flea market. People who buy cars like these don't walk in wearing." His hand waved vaguely at her clothes. "That." Noah looked horrified. The Harringtons stepped back, visibly uncomfortable. A few onlookers whispered. Emily's cheeks flushed, not from embarrassment, but from something colder, harder. Her eyes met Blake's, unwavering. "My money," she said quietly, "is as good as anyone else's." Blake took a step closer, lowering his voice just enough to keep his cruelty private. Let me be clear, Ms. Parker, was it? You're wasting my time. Either schedule a serious appointment, dressed appropriately, or please leave. The room had gone silent. Even the hum of the showroom lights seemed to fade. Emily exhaled slowly, her dignity wrapped around her like armor. Understood, she said. Thank you for your time. She turned and walked toward the exit. Behind her, Blake muttered to a coworker. Some people really don't know their place. Outside, the morning air was bright and cool. Emily paused at the curb, blinking against the sunlight. Humiliation pricked at her chest, not for herself, but for everyone who had ever been dismissed because of how they looked. She pulled out her phone and called home. The Parker estate sat just outside Cambridge, modern, understated, and far quieter than one might expect from the home of a multimillionaire tech founder. Inside, sunlight spilled across glass walls and polished wood floors. Her husband, Michael Parker, looked up from his laptop when she entered. Even before she spoke, he knew something was wrong. 15 years together had given him that instinct. What happened? He asked, closing the screen and rising from his chair. Emily sat down slowly, her composure starting to crack. It was enlightening, she said with a humorless smile. Then she told him everything, the sneer, the laughter, the public dismissal. By the end, Michael's jaw was tight, his hands clenched behind his back. It's not the first time, she added softly. But it hit differently today. Maybe because I thought we'd moved past this kind of thing. He stayed silent for a long moment, listening. When she finished, he said quietly, You want to do something about it. Emily hesitated, then nodded. Not revenge. Just awareness. People like him should understand that you can't measure worth by appearance. But I don't want to humiliate anyone. A slow smile touched Michael's lips, the kind that carried both affection and purpose. Then maybe, he said, we teach him. Her brow lifted. Teach him? Not by shouting, he said. By showing. Let's give him a lesson he'll never forget, and one he'll thank you for later. Emily studied him for a moment, then sighed. Nothing dramatic, Michael. Of course not, he said lightly. Just a little education. She laughed softly despite herself. You have that look. Which one? The one that usually ends with me saying, You went too far. He grinned. Trust me. This time, I'll keep it classy. That night, after dinner, Michael made several quiet phone calls. By morning, Sterling Elite Motors would learn that sometimes the simplest woman in the room could change everything. The next morning dawned bright and crisp, the kind of morning where the city hums with quiet purpose. Inside Sterling Elite Motors, Blake Turner was in his element. He adjusted his navy tie in the reflection of a polished Lamborghini hood, rehearsing his favorite expression, confident, charming, in control. Yesterday's incident with the woman in jeans had already turned into a joke over drinks with colleagues. He had called her the daydream shopper. The memory made him smirk. By 10 o'clock, the dealership gleamed under spotless glass and chrome. Every car stood perfectly angled, their engines silent but full of promise. Blake had just finished a staff meeting reminding everyone, again, to qualify customers efficiently. Time, he'd said, was money, and not everyone deserved it. Then came the sound. A deep, low purr, smooth, commanding, the unmistakable growl of a Rolls-Royce Phantom. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Every head turned toward the front glass. Outside, a custom Phantom in deep midnight blue slid to a stop like liquid luxury. Its paint seemed to shift color with the light, sapphire 1 second, black ink the next. The kind of vehicle only royalty or billionaires could casually own. Blake's pulse quickened. Now that, he murmured, is a serious buyer. The car door opened. A chauffeur in white gloves stepped out, then moved briskly to open the rear door. From within, a tall man emerged, composed, commanding, and effortlessly elegant in a tailored gray suit. His salt and pepper hair was neatly combed, his cufflinks understated platinum. Every gesture spoke of old money and deliberate power. Blake's instincts flared. This was the type of client he dreamed of, one who could single-handedly make his monthly quota. Straightening his tie again, Blake strode forward with his most polished smile. "Good morning, sir," he said warmly. "Welcome to Sterling Elite Motors. Blake Turner, sales manager. It's an honor to have you here today." The man's gaze was calm, assessing, but unreadable. Then he extended his hand. "Michael Parker." The name meant nothing to Blake at first, though something about it tugged at the edge of recognition. Still, the handshake was firm. Expensive watch, quiet confidence, everything about him screamed authority. Blake gestured grandly. "Mr. Parker, please, allow me to show you our finest models. We have several limited editions that might." Michael lifted a hand, cutting him off politely. "Actually, I'm here about something specific, the Azure Coupe. Midnight blue." Blake's smile brightened. "Excellent taste, sir. That model is one of our—" "I know what it is," Michael said smoothly. "My wife was here yesterday. She expressed interest in it." Blake blinked. "Your wife?" "Yes," Michael continued, his voice calm but carrying an edge. "Jeans. White t-shirt. Brown hair. Said she wanted the car as a gift for her sister. You suggested she might prefer the used car division." The blood drained from Blake's face. His practiced charm faltered, his hands instinctively tightening on his clipboard. Around him, the other staff had gone still. There must be a misunderstanding," he stammered. "We welcome all customers." A voice came from behind. "Is everything all right here?" The dealership's owner, Richard Hale, had stepped out of his office, curious about the tension. Blake turned toward him with forced relief. "Just a small mix-up, sir." Michael's gaze shifted to Richard, polite but cold. "Mr. Hale, I presume?" Richard nodded, cautious. "Yes. And you are?" "Michael Parker," he said evenly. "My wife visited your dealership yesterday and was treated with something less than respect. She was made to feel she didn't belong here." A murmur rippled through the showroom. Blake opened his mouth, desperate to salvage his composure, but before he could speak, a quiet voice interrupted. "It's true," said Noah, the young salesman. His voice trembled, but he stood straight. "She was polite, sir. She asked clear questions. Mr. Turner ignored her and humiliated her." Blake shot him a death glare, but Noah didn't back down. Michael nodded slightly. "Thank you for your honesty." Then he turned back to Richard Hale. "You see, my wife is not just anyone. She runs the Parker Foundation for Children with Disabilities. She's helped raise over $50 million for adaptive care, education, and medical research. She lives modestly because she believes simplicity keeps her grounded." The words sank like stones into the silence. Blake's throat felt dry. "I find it interesting," Michael went on, "that a woman capable of changing thousands of lives was dismissed here because of her clothes." Richard's face had gone pale. "Mr. Parker, I'm truly sorry. This doesn't reflect our values." "Values are demonstrated," Michael interrupted calmly. "Not printed on brochures." He paused. "Now, I came here intending to purchase the Azure Coupe as my wife planned. But I was also considering replacing my company fleet, 7 new vehicles, and updating my personal collection." Richard's eyes widened. That was a multi-million-dollar sale, enough to make their entire quarter. "But," Michael continued, his tone sharpening, "after yesterday, I'm not sure this is the right place to invest that kind of trust." Blake's stomach dropped. The showroom was silent except for the hum of air conditioning. "Mr. Parker," Richard said quickly, "please, allow us to make this right. Anything we can do." Michael considered. Then, with quiet authority, he said, "Perhaps there's one way." He turned to Blake. "You'll attend my foundation's upcoming benefit next month. Not as a guest, as a volunteer. You'll help set up, assist the children, and see firsthand the people my wife works for. Consider it an education." Blake's face went scarlet. "Sir, Mr. Turner," Michael said, voice firm but not cruel, You'll find humility far more valuable than any sales technique. Then he looked back to Richard. And perhaps your dealership might implement training on unconscious bias. I'll have my wife recommend consultants. Richard nodded rapidly. Absolutely. Immediately. Finally, Michael turned to Noah, the young salesman. I'd like you to handle the paperwork for the Azure. Noah blinked. Me, sir? Yes, Michael said with a faint smile. You treated my wife with respect when no one else did. That matters. He ran his hand along the Azure's polished frame, the same car his wife had been denied. My wife, he said quietly, has excellent taste. As he walked out, the entire dealership remained frozen in silence. Blake Turner stood rooted to the marble floor, his reflection staring back at him in the Azure's gleaming surface, a man suddenly unsure of who he really was. 1 month later, the Parker Foundation Benefit Gala illuminated the grand ballroom of the Boston Regency Hotel. Crystal chandeliers glimmered above tables dressed in navy silk. The scent of fresh flowers mingled with the soft hum of a jazz quartet. It was an evening built to inspire, a celebration of children, resilience, and hope. Near the entrance, a man in a black volunteer polo shirt helped a young boy adjust his wheelchair. His name tag read Blake Turner, volunteer. It had been 30 days since the day his world cracked open inside Sterling Elite Motors, and every one of those days had changed him. What began as an uncomfortable punishment had become something far deeper. The first week had been humbling. The second, eye-opening. By the third, it was personal. He had met children who faced daily challenges without bitterness, parents who smiled despite exhaustion, and teachers who gave everything for their students. The world he'd once lived in, of polish, commission checks, and luxury pretension, now felt hollow by comparison. Almost done, champ, Blake said gently, securing the wheelchair's safety strap. The boy, a cheerful 10-year-old with bright eyes and muscular dystrophy, grinned. You're getting better at this, Mr. Blake. Trying to keep up with your standards, Thomas, Blake said, smiling back. Good. 'Cause I'm teaching you basketball next time, the boy said proudly. Blake laughed. Deal. Across the ballroom, Emily Parker was speaking with donors and doctors, her elegance simple yet commanding. She wore a sapphire blue dress, not flashy, but graceful, understated, confident. She noticed Blake helping Thomas and approached with a warm smile. Thomas seems very fond of you, she said when she reached them. Blake straightened awkwardly. He's the boss around here, he said lightly. I'm just the rookie volunteer. Emily chuckled. You're doing good work, Blake. How are you finding the experience? He hesitated, then answered truthfully. Humbling. And necessary. Her eyes softened. Good answer. She glanced toward Thomas, who was showing off his wristband to another volunteer. He's teaching you more than basketball, isn't he? Blake nodded. He's teaching me perspective. He paused, looking directly at her. Mrs. Parker. I know I've already apologized officially, but I need to say it to you, personally. I'm truly sorry for how I treated you that day. There's no excuse. Emily regarded him quietly, her expression thoughtful. You're right, she said, not harshly but with honesty. There isn't. But apology means something when it comes with change. What have you learned from it? Blake's voice was low but steady. That worth isn't defined by what people wear or what they drive. That respect isn't earned by appearance. It's the baseline we owe everyone until they give us a reason to withdraw it. Emily smiled faintly. Those are expensive lessons, Mr. Turner. He exhaled softly. Worth every cent. Before he could say more, Michael Parker approached, his calm presence carrying across the room. Blake, he greeted, shaking his hand. I've been hearing good things. You've made quite the impression around here. Blake smiled awkwardly. I'm trying to make up for lost ground, sir. I believe you're doing more than that, Michael said. Then, with a small smile, he added, Daniel, the young salesman, mentioned you've been mentoring him back at the dealership. Blake nodded. We've been working on changing how we approach customers. No more judging by first impressions. I realized how many people I'd probably turned away over the years just because they didn't look wealthy. That's growth, Michael said approvingly. Keep at it. He paused for a moment, then added casually. By the way, that corporate fleet I mentioned? We're still in the market. Blake blinked. Sir? Michael's grin was subtle. If you're available, I'd like you to handle that transaction personally. Daniel spoke highly of your leadership. For a moment, Blake couldn't speak. I thank you, sir. I'd be honored. Emily looked between them, pleased. He's earned the chance, she said softly. As the night progressed, laughter and applause filled the hall. The Foundation's keynote presentation played on massive screens, children swimming, running, painting, smiling. The audience rose to their feet as Emily spoke about dignity and compassion, about how the smallest kindness could rewrite a life. Blake watched from the side of the room, hands folded behind his back. He had seen countless luxury unveilings and sales galas, but nothing like this, no room filled with so much genuine worth. Later that evening, when most guests had gone, Blake wheeled Thomas toward the stage for a photo. The boy grinned up at him. You know what, Mr. Blake? What's that, champ? You're pretty cool for a grown-up. Blake laughed softly. Coming from you, Thomas, that's the best compliment I've ever had. Emily watched from across the room, smiling quietly. Michael slipped an arm around her waist. He's changed, she murmured. He has, Michael agreed. Sometimes people just need to see the world from the other side of the glass. She nodded. And to realize that kindness isn't a performance, it's a reflection. They stood there for a moment, watching Blake and Thomas share one last laugh. The ballroom lights dimmed, leaving the glow of the chandeliers casting soft halos across the room. For the first time in years, Blake felt something money had never bought him: peace. Epilogue. A week later, the new Parker corporate fleet, 7 vehicles in total, was delivered to Sterling Elite Motors. The deal was handled by Blake Turner himself, assisted by Daniel. But this time, no one looked at customers' clothes. No one judged by watches or wallets. On the glass wall behind the reception desk, a new quote gleamed in silver letters. True worth isn't seen in what we own, but in how we treat others when no one is watching. And beneath it, a small brass plate read, Donated by the Parker Foundation.